I think it's absolutely funny that the last couple of days I've been getting a lot of attention with my t-shirts. Apparently, today it was very funny. The other day, I'm not going to say who didn't like it, but there was a certain group of people that didn't like my Minding My Melanated Business shirt that I got from my homegirl's business. But those who enjoyed it, I appreciate you. The head nods, the hey sisters. I see y'all. I see y'all. Hey, y'all thought Candyman was some shit? Just imagine Candyman, but in real life. What's good? What's good in the YouTube hood? It's your girl, Luna Nova, and I'm back with another one for y'all today. Shout out to all my hoodlums in the hood. Let me know what hood you repping down in the comments. Some places don't just remember what happened, they hold it. People say the air itself keeps the story. Tonight, we're diving into the hood, in the corners of the cities where history, pain, and paranormal all collide. Welcome back to the Mystic Muse. In today's compilation, we're diving into a really interesting question and a conspiracy theory of my own. I'll go in more depth in a podcast episode about that theory, but I digress. When terrible things happen in a place, gang violence, trauma, or dark practices, can a spirit world keep record? Some call it an imprint, a residue, or a haunting that feeds off of sorrow or anger. These stories aren't pretty. They come from neighborhoods, streets, and blocks where life has been hard and the echo lingers. Now, I'm not here to sensationalize anyone's pain. I'm here to listen, learn, and share what others have been through and felt. Because, contrary to popular belief, paranormal activity does happen in the hood. Y'all think with all these gangs and violence running around, the mobs in certain areas where a lot of black people and people of color have moved into, yeah, you think that that activity just stops? You think there's no type of lingering of that? It may not be in the physical, but trust me, stuff is definitely moving in the spiritual. Especially a lot of these people who were taken out in, violent ways from, the mafia and gangs. Yeah, I 100% believe there's paranormal activity in the hood. Tonight's compilation brings you true, raw encounters of paranormal activity in the hood, told by people who know those streets. Grab you a drink, grab you a snack, and let's go ahead and get into this compilation of spooky and paranormal tales from the hood.
Does paranormal stuff happen here in the hood, man? Let's go. But gang, hell yeah. You will expect, a lot of people that die here in the hood is filled with paranormal activity shit, and you're right. Bro, let me tell y'all this story. The first time of me actually seeing this shit with my own two eyes. I'm like 14, 15. I'm on the block. I'm cooling with my friends. We being bad as hell, doing shit we ain't got no business doing. And when I tell you that it was this big dumbass house that's on the block, but it's been abandoned for years. Nobody never been in that motherfucker as long as we lived in the area. We always wondered how it looked in the inside. So one day, being bad as hell like we broke in that motherfucker. Bro, I'm talking about as soon as we get in that motherfucker, the vibe felt creepy as hell. See this bandit crib next door to me? Picture this, just the house being a little bit bigger. And when I say that the crib was exactly how we thought it was gonna be, or even better, the house is a mess because it's been abandoned for years. So it's all type of shit everywhere. So one of my homies ended up staying outside, we need a lookout. So me and my other two homies that's in there, we had a motherfucker running up the stairs. Us being us, you feel me? We thinking this our homie. He finna come tell us it's time to go, 12 coming. We literally all looking at the stairs waiting for a motherfucker to come up because we hearing motherfuckers run up the stairs. My homie look at me, I look at my homie, we all look at each other. It's time to go. One of my homies trying to be funny as hell. If it's somebody here, let us know. Gee, I will remember this shit for the rest of my life. It was like an evil ass voice, a loud ass bang saying, "Get out my house." Heart dropped in my ass. When I say I didn't look back for my friends or none of that shit, boy, I was gone. I seen too many movies, man. That shit over with.
Since we talking paranormal activities taking place in the hood, I want to share my experience. I grew up going to my grandmother and grandfather's house on 63rd and Kenwood, just to give you some context. So not super hood, but not super safe, semi-hood. It was a little bit rougher back in the day before the gentrification started taking place on that block specifically. So yeah. And also, my grandfather was a struggling addict, so there were moments when he would with strangers while my dad was asleep, and I didn't know until I put two and two together as I got older. He would be like, "Do not come out this room for the rest of the night. Go use the bathroom now." Yeah, that happened a few times in my childhood. Mind you, this apartment we all stayed in, it always had an eerie vibe to me. And I thought it was just because, on the weekdays I would spend times with my mom. I would live with my mom and my grandma in the suburbs. So going from that contrast from a suburban lifestyle to a city semi-hood lifestyle would just be like, okay, this is different, but it just felt off. And it never felt off when we moved out of that apartment. I know now that motherfucker was haunted. And like I had my first paranormal experience there, and it was very scary. So I'll fall asleep, I wake up. Mind you, there's no cable. There's only satellite television. You know, there's only about 7 channels. So I usually go to sleep with the TV on. I wake up, the TV is on like channel 32.1, and it's just a black screen. There's no signal for some reason. Also, I cannot move. I now know that this is sleep paralysis, and it's not my last time having sleep paralysis, but it's my first. So I'm like, oh shit, I'm 7 years old. I can't move, and the room is a tinted red. I kid you not, the room was a tinted red. I thought I died and went to hell, and I can't move. I can't scream. I can't do anything. A man opens the door, and it's the handman, not the handman child, the tall man with the hat man. Yeah, I seen him, motherfucker. He had no eyes, no face, but he was there, clear as day. And I'm scared to tell people this story because people think I'm crazy, but I kid you not. After that, I could not sleep in that room by myself anymore. My little sister had to sleep in the room with me. I used to sleep in my room with my dad and my stepmom. I used to be like, I'm going somewhere else. Like, I used to skip out on weekends with my dad for like a good, consistent time as a kid, and I was too scared to tell anybody because it was so traumatizing. And I don't know, like, my grandfather bringing all those different types of energies into that apartment. Who knows what spiritual attachment were with these strangers he was doing DRUGS with. He could have been having some spirits following him. You just never know. But yeah, that's something I would love to see. Like, I would love to see another horror movie taking place in the hood, because the hood is a hub for trapped spirits. It's a hub for negative energy sometimes. It's just a hub for spiritual activity to take place. And I don't want to sound like one of them moon crystal bitches, but it's definitely some spiritual works in a place with a lot of these games and stuff.
Since I'm seeing a bunch of hood story time, like hood paranormal story times, I got one for y'all from my childhood. So this happened in September 2017. I will never forget. So one night, like, I was laying out in the living room. Mind you, I stayed up a little later because we were supposed to be getting a hurricane. This was Hurricane Irma. This was happened in 2017. And one night I was laying down and I was hoping that we had school the next day because I was looking at the weather forecast. It was like a hurricane was gonna hit. So I was like, oh, Irma gonna hit, Irma gonna hit. So I was like, let me not go to sleep because they was gonna call us in the morning until us that Irma was hitting. So I didn't go to bed and I stayed up. This is around like 2:30 in the morning. So I'm watching what's that movie called? It's called Grown Ups. Adam Sandler played in it. Grown Ups. And I will never forget. I dozed off for like 10 minutes. And I woke back up and I looked outside. Y'all, tell me why I seen like a 15-foot man. Like, I just see him have like a suit on. He had to be like 15 feet. Because where, like, we was on the top, like, floor of the apartment. We was in an apartment at the time. We was at the top floor. And this man had to been like 15 feet. He had on white and black. His face is all white. Girl, I seen the legs. The legs wasn't normal. Like, it looked like Slender Man. And I seen it. And I stayed. And I, like, he didn't see me, but I saw him. And I just looked. And I'm like, huh? Like, I'm just like, I'm in shock. I'm like, what is this? And when I tell y'all, it looked like Slender Man. I could not tell if it was or wasn't. I don't know what it was, but I was so terrified. I went to sleep. Like, we didn't have like no curtains in the top because we was at the top of floor. Like, we was at the top floor. Like, who can look inside the house anyways? So all the thing that was right behind the house was that big field and like one tree, and that's the only reason how I saw it. So I'm just looking, and I looked probably for like a few more seconds, and I closed my eyes, went to sleep. I woke up the next morning, and I told my mom about it. And she was like, well, if you feel like you seen something, she was like, why you ain't let me know? And I got scared because I was like, I don't know. I don't think you can do anything about it. And yeah. So I just I told her, I was like, I ain't think you could do anything about it. Like, it's Slender Man, y'all. Like, I don't know what it was, but that thing, it had to be at least 15 feet high. Like, when I tell you that motherfucker was so close, like, the height that he was probably just as tall, like, because the apartments that we stayed in were, like, very tall. We had to be like 10, not even 10 feet off the ground, probably like 17 feet off the ground. He was not that, like, far from the height that I had my balcony at. Like, it was crazy. But yeah, that's just one of my scary paranormal hood activity. That's one of my scary hood paranormal activity stories I had to tell about because I just seen it trending on my For You page a lot. And I was just like, well, why not me tell y'all what happened when I was 11 years old?
I did not know that paranormal stories in the hood was a thing. But since it is, Let me tell y'all about the time me, my mom, and my sister lived in a haunted house for over 10 years. This story is going to have multiple parts, so buckle up. This is just part one. And this is when we first moved into the house, right? We not even fully moved in. Now, a little backstory. We found this house for cheap, and it was a nice house. It was like 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, big ass. It was like a living room. Well, it was like actually like a living room, a dining room, and then kind of like an entertainment room. The house was huge, and we got it for a cheap price. And I remember like when I was telling my homeboy, one of my homeboys about, I was showing him the house, like, yeah, this is what we moving into. And he kind of looked at me and he was like, you know that house haunted, right? I'm just like, man, get the fuck out of here, whatever. And he like, no, for real. An old white man used to stay there. He died in the house. And people say it's haunted. And ever since then, nobody has ever stayed in that house past a couple months because it be too much shit happening. Now, mind you, the way my homeboys be playing, I'm kind of thinking he just fucking with me, right? I'm just like, whatever. All right, so now fast forward to we moving in. We all going, me, my mom, my sister, we all going back and forth moving our shit in, right? So now at this point, the only people in the house is me and 2 of my cousins, right? And I'm showing them like the house. So I'm not going to go into details how it's set up because that's going to take too long. But long story short, my room, the reason I picked it, and it's a fucked up reason, but my room didn't have any windows. And I loved it because when you would cut the lights off, it would be completely pitch dark. And I would sleep all day up in that bitch. So I'm showing my homeboys my room. But right down the hallway is my sister's room. And she actually had the biggest room in the house. And so I showed them my room. And then I go down to the end of the hall. And I'm showing them my sister's room. And like I said, she had a big ass room. But on the wall, now this is important. On the wall, there was like a floor length mirror, but it didn't have a frame or anything. And it was bolted directly into the wall where you couldn't move it. Like if you touch it, you can't move it. It wouldn't move at all. It's just right there in the wall. It was like 4 bolts on each corner holding it into the wall, right? So I take them in there. I show them my sister's room and shit. And then I go back into my room and they come into my room with me because I'm moving my shit in, right? I'm moving my clothes, books, knickknacks, all that good stuff. So while mind you, nobody's in the house but us. Me, my 2 cousins. While we're in my room and we just talking, I'm talking about all the shit we gonna be doing, yada, yada, yada. We hear a loud ass crash come from my sister's room. Now, we hood ninjas. So when we hear that, our first instinct is somebody in here with us. So we immediately dash into my sister's room, ready for action. Nobody's there. And the way the house was set up, nobody could have been in there. And they couldn't have came in and left without us seeing them or hearing them. The way the house is set up, right? So we get into the room, nobody's there. And my sister hasn't moved into her room yet. So it's nothing in her room. Her room is completely empty. And we looking around like, what the fuck was that noise? And we look at the mirror and it's smashed. Like, so now we know what the sound was. At first, we didn't even know what the sound was. It was just the crash was so loud that it actually, like, we all like flinched before we ran to see what was going on. And the way the mirror was shattered, you would think somebody took a sledgehammer or something and just, slammed it into it. So now we in my sister's room and we just looking around like, what the fuck? Like, how did that happen? Because again, mind you, my sister, the mirror is bolted into the wall. You can't move it. You can't jiggle it. There was no type of give on it. You dig what I'm saying? So for it to just spontaneous shatter, there was no logical explanation. And we just kind of like, you know how you get that oh shit look, but then you try to laugh it off because we just like, and I'm like, oh well damn. And then I make a joke like, well damn, motherfucker did say, the homie did say that the house haunted, haha, we laughing, but we kind of spooked. So now, like maybe an hour or so later, my sister shows up, and she's already been in the house, right? And me and my two cousins, we in my room, we still in my room, chopping it up and shit. She goes in her room, and my sister got a temper, so she goes in her room, gets to yelling, and immediately comes to my room, like, what the fuck y'all do to my mirror? And I'm like, we didn't do nothing to your mirror. And she like, get the fuck out of here, man. I know y'all. Y'all was probably up in there play fighting and shit, and y'all done smashed the mirror, and y'all don't wanna take accountability or whatever. Like, what the fuck? And so we like, look, honestly, we was in my room. That's what I'm telling myself. I'm like, look, honestly, we was in my room and we just heard a loud crash. We came in there and the mirror was broke. My sister looked at us and she like, y'all can't come up with a better fucking line than that. I'm like, and my cousins is looking at her like, no, he's not lying. Cause I was known to joke and be sarcastic and shit. And so my cousins had to step in like, no, look, straight up, he not lying. We was in here. We don't know what happened. We just heard the shit. And like the more that we explaining it to her, the more she's kind of like, first she's kind of like, then she's kind of like, and she like, y'all for real? We like, yes. Well, look, so, and that was the first strange thing that happened. But a lot more shit happened. This video kind of long, so I'm gonna have to catch y'all on the next one. And I'm gonna let y'all know, because that shit right there that I'm telling you, as freaky as that sound, I'm getting chills. It get a lot worse. And this shit is real. I'm not lying. I'm not making this shit up.
And speaking of paranormal activity, listen, I grew up in the hood here in LA, right? And my apartment building seemed like a normal apartment building, actually pretty quiet compared to others in the neighborhood, right? But one day as a little kid, I'm playing in my closet, one of them narrow, long closets with the sliding doors. And I just so happen to look at the back of the sliding door, and it's gang writing on there. But there's also symbolism. It's in red, some with some bloods. I don't know, but I read it. But I just kept on going about my day and playing in the closet and playing in my room. I went to sleep that night. I started having very weird dreams. I can't tell you exactly what the dreams were anymore. But the one dream was so creepy. I just jumped up. I was so scared. My nose was bleeding, like bleeding bad. My mom came in screaming. I was screaming. Her boyfriend was screaming. Everybody was like, what the fuck is going on? After that, I would not sleep in my room. I refused to sleep in there. I just had this ill feeling about it. And so one morning, I was getting ready for school. That's the only time I would go in the room is to get my stuff and get ready for school. I reached in my closet to get my shoes, and something clear as day said, I'm going to get you. I promise you. I flipped out so bad. I went backwards trying to hurry up and get out of the closet. I hit the back of my head on the dresser. I cried all the way to school. I had a sad day at school. I didn't want to play with my friends, nothing. So my mom calls my grandma and my auntie, and they come over, and they're Christian. They proceed to pray over the room. I didn't go in the room to even see exactly what was done, but when my grandma came out, she had this look like, what in the world? She said the closet doors was rattling, like they was shaking when they was praying in there. But I could say that I didn't have no problems after that. Like I still didn't go and sleep in my room for a little bit, but I eventually went back to sleeping in my room. But I will never forget that experience. I don't know. I just put it in the back of my brain and went on about my life. But as I got older and I got more into like watching paranormal stuff, I was just like, that shit is real. I don't care what nobody say, and it happened in the hood.
I keep seeing all these videos about how it's so many spirits like in the hood and stuff. And like, of course, like it's spirits everywhere. Spirits roam around. This is kind of like my story. Not really a story per se, but like I'm from south side of Chicago, you feel me? And over east. But my nana and papa, I stayed with them, you know what I mean? When she was a single parent, so I kind of like stayed with them here and there, Well, they stayed off of 81st and Emerald in Auburn, Gresham. And that house that they had, that was their house, they bought their first house or whatever the case may be, a little purple house in the hood, you feel me? And I would never forget being a little girl, and that house, it always felt so eerie, y'all. When I was a little girl, I could see spirits real good, like even at my mama's house and shit like that. Like I could see spirits, like I would talk to them and whatever. I'd be like, look, that's me. But like my nana and papa house, their house was so damn eerie. Like they had a piano in the basement, and that piano literally just used to play on its own. And then like they basement, it was low key. When I think about it, like they house was small, but like they basement was low key big. Like it was a finished basement, and then like you can like go like all the way to the back where like they they laundry room and shit was. And I used to hate when my nana used to be like, go downstairs and play, or go in the basement and play. Who about to go down there? It's so scary. Why? I grew up in a spiritual church or whatever the case may be, and the founder, which was my pastor, before, he had a spiritual gift. He literally told my nana like, oh yeah, it's bodies underneath your house, buried underneath your house. The house sits on top of like a low-key graveyard. But yeah, it be spirits, y'all. Like it's just one of the things where you kind of gotta like just test it out to see if it's a good spirit or bad spirit, and start praying if you feel like it's a negative force or negative spirit. Cause baby, I've been seeing some stuff.
Okay, so I actually have a spooky story from when I lived in Miami. It's not going to be long either, so just bear with me. Now, around 2007, I would say we were in middle school. So around this time, me and my cousins were asked to stay the night at a family friend's house. Now, this lady was old. I would say she was probably in her 70s. But this lady was mean as hell. She was a mean, old Jamaican lady. And she would always call us motherfucker or some shit. Like, when I tell you this lady was mean as hell, she was mean as shit. But for some reason, she was a close family friend because of the church we went to. And around this time, we were going to this church in Liberty City called Liberty City Church of God. Not sure if that church is still there, but that's where we were going to when we were younger. So it was one time that my parents were like, hey, it would be nice if you guys would spend more time with such and such. We're going to call her Sister Soldier. It would be nice if you guys spend a little time with Sister Soldier, for the weekend, just to give her some company. At first, I was not going for it because why? First of all, the lady's house was hot. She was mean. And of course, I wasn't going to be the only one saying yes if my cousins didn't want to go. So we all ended up going. So it was me, my cousin D, and her brother Dabby. Now, we're not going to use real names, but they were brother and sister. So that weekend, we decided to go spend the weekend at Sister Soldier house. So now, mind you, how her house is set up, like she really had an open concept. The only thing that was closed off was like the kitchen, and that was closed off by a wall, but it was still open if you were to go to the dining room. So as soon as you walk in, it's a big living room space. Then the fireplace is to your right. You keep going straight, and there's a dining room. Then you turn to your left. There's the wall to the kitchen, but the kitchen is right there. Like the kitchen was very small, and from there, from the front door, you can see the opening passageway to go to the rooms. And she only had 2 rooms, so it was 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, just to give you like an idea of how the house was set up. So where our bedroom was, it was right in front of the doorway, the passageway into the hallway that looks right to the front door. So I'm seeing everything in her house from my door. Her room door was adjacent to ours, so she couldn't see anything but the bathroom. So that day we ended up playing outside, playing inside, watching TV, just like staying out of her way. Because again, this lady was mean as hell. There was no conversation that us as kids in 2007 had with a 70-year-old woman, if I'm being honest. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? So as we playing, it's getting towards bedtime. We all, get ready for bed or whatever. And for some reason, like, as it's getting closer to the night, the house gets colder and colder. Now, I understand now we're in Miami. During the daytime, we don't really let the AC on. The AC is never really on in the morning. Well, during the daytime while the sun is out. Because more than likely, nobody's home, everybody's out. So my parents usually cut the air off when they're not home. So that could be another reason why her house was hot. But at night, that house was freezing. So that night we all go to bed. My cousins end up falling asleep before I do, and it's a little tougher for me to fall asleep in a place that I'm not familiar with. So I was up a little bit longer than my cousins were. So as I'm laying there, I started to really feel like chills going in my body. I'm like, damn, well, why do I feel like this? Like, this house is already fucking creepy and cold as hell. This should be no reason why my body will feel any type of way than normal. So as I'm laying there, something told me to just look up and look outside the door. As I'm looking outside the door, I see her rocking chair. It was literally right outside of the opening of the hallway. But another thing I forgot to mention, her house had those like porcelain dolls. So it wasn't a lot of them, but it was enough to be like, the fuck she got all these dolls in her house for? So let me give you an example of where the dolls were placed. There was one doll on the couch. There was one on the chair. There was one sitting on top of the mantle of the fireplace, and there was another one sitting on the rocking chair. And the entire day, of course, we didn't care too much about the damn dolls because I personally don't like dolls. After seeing Chucky when I was younger, I'm not a fan of animated dolls. I'm not a fan of animated objects. I'm not a fan of anything coming to life and it's not supposed to. I'm not a fan of that. So I never really had dolls like that in my damn house myself. Like, I probably had a brat's head, but I never had like a full-fledged doll head to toe. That was a whole another trauma that I still haven't gotten over, but whatever. So as I'm laying down, I'm looking at outside the doorway. I see the rocking chair moving. Now, the AC don't blow that damn hard for anything to move in that house. So for the rocking chair to be moving was very questionable. And as I'm seeing the rocking chair move, I'm like, God damn, like, what the fuck? The rocking chair is moving. It's a doll in the rocking chair. Who the fuck is moving that rocking chair? And I'm so scared. Like, I don't really move. I'm just staring at the shit. And in my mind, I'm like, I hope this motherfucking doll don't come into life. Cause that'll be, anyways. So I'm so damn scared. I end up like, cause we couldn't. And when we were younger, we couldn't close our room doors. So even when we're not at our parents' house, I decided to just turn over and fall asleep. Because one thing I'm not about to do, I'm not going to go to stay up because I'm scared. I wasn't finna do that. Nor was I finna walk out that room and see what the fuck was going on. So I just decided to turn my ass around, put my head under them covers, and go to sleep. The next morning I wake up, rocking chair ain't moving, doll not even sitting on the damn rocking chair. Mind you, when I first walked into that house, the doll was sitting on the rocking chair. When I looked outside the door that night, the doll was sitting on a rocking chair. When I woke up that morning, that doll was no longer there. You want to know where the doll was sitting? On a goddamn couch. The same doll that was on the couch was now on the rocking chair. Now, that old ass lady could have moved that damn doll. She could have moved it herself to spook the shit out of us. But what would she get out of that? Had we not really peeped that? If none of us were up at that time to really see that happen, how would she have known that we'd even seen it? That we would have even peeped at? But the fact that the doll has now moved from the couch to the rocking chair, and then from the rocking chair back to the couch, was the creepiest shit I've ever seen. Never told anybody about it because that can't be explained. And we're a Christian family. They don't believe in all that paranormal, supernatural shit. They're gonna tell you to pray it away. But yeah, that's my spooky, scary story from 2007. Yeah, and I never went back to that lady house again. And I will say the craziest part about it is my cousin's mom moved into that house a few years after that lady passed away. I think I've been to that house, been inside that house maybe 2 to 3 times since she moved there. Not a fan. Not a fan at all.
If you take away anything from this video, let it be this. Places shaped by trauma can hold the energy long after the moment is over. That's why respect, protection, and knowledge matters when you're stepping into places unknown. And it doesn't always have to be some woo-woo shit. Like, it could simply be moving into a place and you knowing the history of the street, knowing what happened in that house, knowing how the people on the block were. You never know what type of energy you're literally moving into. Whether physically or spiritually speaking, don't treat ghosts like dares, because you might just mess around and find out. If you have a story from your block that you'd like to share with the Mystic Muse Hood, go ahead and send it into my email, themysticmusecreations@gmail.com. I feature real subscriber submissions on Mystic Monday. And of course, if you enjoyed this compilation today, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, share with some other hoodlums who wanted to join the hood. But until next time, and make sure that you drink your water, mind your business, and stay prayed up and protected. And as always, Luna loves you. I'll be back with another video for you guys if the spirits allow it. Give it right back, did they give it right back? This up, baby, can I sit right back? Wanna give it right back, baby, yeah, like that,